This is the director's cut for Prodigal, my short film for my A2 media work. This first scene begins in black and white. This is because I wanted to show that this scene hasn't happened yet, but is a glimpse towards the future. This scene is later shown in full colour at the end of the video. The next two scenes show our protagonist as he leaves to go to school.
My whole life I've been looking to try and get a breakthrough, the chance to prove myself to the world.
The use of cut shots was done on purpose, as it shows that this isn't supposed to be anything special for the protagonist, it's just another day.
I've always been a hard-working guy, but I've not come from the richest family in the world.
The voiceover as well is playing over this scene, explaining the character's feelings towards school and his future.
I wasn't popular at school.
Hey, no.
That's not my name.
You don't care, no. The classroom scene was filmed to show how unpopular the character was. The bully, played by me, picked on our protagonist simply because he was doing his work. This shows the character's unpopularity at school for being considered a nerd. The next scene again shows how the character is unpopular, not just at school, but with girls as well.
And I was a bomb with the ladies. Mate, I'll have a beer please, and what are you two ladies having?
Nothing. Alright, thanks. Tough luck.
He tried chatting up these two girls, but failed to impress them, as he walked off and left him by himself. As an interesting side note, the waiter, played by my friend Luke Shipley, improvised his line in the scene. After the girls walk off and the protagonist remains sat at the bar, the waiter says, "Tough luck, mate," completely improvised, which I thought was quite cool. The title sequence is placed here because, in my opinion, it was a perfect place to put it. It's not too far into the video, and it's not at a point where it breaks up the action too much.
Everything was going bad for me.
The next scene shows a protagonist drinking several cans of beer, clearly depressed at what his life is like.
Everywhere. So I did what most other teenagers nowadays do. I went home and drank alcohol.
The scene was put in to emphasise how this person feels and help the audience connect with the protagonist better.
Little did I know, my life was going to change forever.
The scene where the protagonist wins the lottery had to be a powerful scene in my opinion. This is supposed to be a point that changed his character's life, and I wanted the audience to feel as excited as possible for the character, and again, it would help the audience relate to the character.
Yes, come on! Get in there, yes!
Immediately after the scene where he wins, we are treated to a scene that shows our protagonist enjoying his newfound fortunes, entering a brand new house and a fancy new car.
Imagine you were me. Your whole life changed in an instant.
The crossfades helped make the scene go by a little faster, as otherwise it was a little slow.
You could do anything you wanted. Be whatever you wanted to be.
As he enters the house, the camera pans out, and the viewer can see how he now has a massive house thanks to his recent victory.
This money changed everything.
As the camera pans out, the sun is clearly seen shining over it. Admittedly, this was unintentional. However, it does conveniently act as a symbol to showcase the protagonist's new, bright outlook on life, thanks to his newfound fortunes. Afterwards, we are treated to a scene in reverse to the one we saw previously, where the protagonist attempted to chat up the girls.
My luck with the ladies.
Hi, man.
Right.
How are you? This time, we see the protagonist now has some newfound confidence thanks to his money, and coolly approaches the bar, buys the most expensive champagne available, and then approaches the two girls and persuades them to come and sit with him, especially after they see he is quite wealthy.
Alright, man, what can I get you?
I'll ask you best champagne in 3 glasses, please, and put it on my tab.
Cool.
Cheers, mate. Do you guys like a drink?
Yeah, okay.
This scene is here for 2 reasons. Firstly, it is to show that the protagonist has gained new confidence in himself thanks to the money he now has. The other reason was to show how people have changed the way they act around him. As seen from the start of this scene, the bully from earlier was also at the bar, and when the protagonist entered, he now greeted him with a friendly handshake and act like he's a good friend with him. The 2 girls also act more friendly towards him. They don't shoot him down straight away, and instead give him a chance. Both of these things show how people's perception of the protagonist has changed simply because he now has money. However, this is what gives the protagonist his false sense of confidence, as he believes people finally like him, but not because of the money. The 3 scenes showing what the protagonist spent his money on weren't actually in the original video. Originally, the film went from him driving his car into the house straight to him realising he couldn't afford his bills. I thought, however, that if someone won the lottery, buying a big house and nice car won't make them bankrupt. So, I added these scenes in to show him spending money on holidays, betting and gambling, to show that he's spending money on other things that cost a lot, and are a running cost.
Being able to travel the world. Gambling. Oh, the gambling. And the betting. Football, cricket. I'd bet on anything.
I wanted to think of a way to show the audience that the protagonist was rapidly running out of money, but do it in a subtle way rather than making it glaringly obvious, like if he was looking at his bank statement. This is why I chose to show his money loss through the use of casino chips getting lower and lower. It also related to the fact that this character was a known gambler, as he himself states, showing that the character's ways have begun to cause his downfall.
Of course, if you do nothing but spend and spend, the money soon runs dry.
In these final scenes, we see the protagonist looking upon the vast amount of bills he now has, with no way of paying them. The camera angle changes to a first-person perspective as it pans across the bills.
I went from a £70 million jackpot to nothing again in less than a year.
The reason this was done was to show the audience exactly what he sees and how he's in a spot of trouble now thanks to his money-spending ways.
Just 1 year. I hadn't finished my studies. Exams were fast approaching and I was not prepared. And now I couldn't even afford to go to university anymore.
This point is further reinforced when we see the protagonist sigh in disbelief as he realises his situation has become too desperate. As is true with most movies, my short film began life with a very different story. My original idea was a prisoner who was given the death sentence of murdering 2 men. However, through flashbacks, we see why he murdered these 2 men, and that it was with good intentions, as he was trying to protect a little boy. The film would end with the prisoner being led to the chair, and just as they're about to be lethally injected, the screen will cut out, and the audience will be left wondering if he deserved his fate. This soon changed drastically to one that was similar to mine now. An immigrant coming to live in the country who was suffering horribly. He had a terrible job where he was constantly picked on. He lived in a terrible home and had no friends. However, a chance purchasing of a lottery ticket changed his life forever, as he won the jackpot. Instantly he began spending all of his money, buying a nice big house and a new, shiny car, as well as buying out all his co-workers so they could have some friends. He also meets the girl of his life, and the 2 get married as she reveals she is pregnant and he's going to be a father. Everything was going great for the immigrant. However, the money began to run dry, and soon he realised he couldn't afford his luxury lifestyle anymore. He lost his house and car so that he could start paying back the bank. His wife left him with his unborn child, and his ex-co-worker stopped caring anymore. He used the last of his money to buy back his old apartment, the only place he could afford, and had to beg his old boss for his job back, putting him right back where he started. Finally, I settled on my story, a student who wins the lottery and spends it all before getting to accomplish his dreams. All of these changes to my script came about from audience feedback. My initial idea, about the prisoner, was shot down by a lot of my target market, who thought it was too dark for a short film. Altering the story, even before my main actor dropped out, it was clear people still found the story quite depressing, especially the wife walking out on him. And so, I settled on the student idea, as it is more believable than a young man, who won millions in the lottery, would spend as much of their money as possible without thinking responsibly about it. My main production and ancillary tasks go well together. The ancillary tasks are a post advertising the movie, and a film review by a movie magazine. The post advertises the movie using photos I had taken of the protagonist leaning on his new car outside his new home. The film review was made using a different photo of the protagonist with his new car, and designed to look similar to an Empire magazine's film review. I used an example of a film review by Empire I got off the internet, and used the layout as a basis for my review. On the right is a photo, with the star rating and film of the week stapled in the corner. On the left is the actual review, set to look like a film review from a magazine. I use media technologies in the planning and evaluation stage to help me get some audience feedback, and also to help me keep track of the things I had planned and see my initial ideas. Blogger was where I kept all my feedback and initial ideas, and acted as a database that I could refer to with any information regarding to my past choices throughout the course. It became a helpful tool in keeping me on track with my current plans, and I was able to refer to it to see my action plan for each week. I use media technologies to help with my planning and evaluation stages too. I again use Blogger for planning, as is where I kept all my ideas, but I also use Final Cut Pro to edit my footage, and I use Photoshop to edit my images for my ancillary tasks. Both proved vital in helping me to finish the production and ancillary tasks, even if I needed to get help online with both of the software in order to fully grasp how they work. I also use Microsoft Word to write the script of this evaluation, and I also use Final Cut again to edit this director's cut of my short film.